Ian Blackford. Mr. Blackford, always good to talk to you. Just your reaction to, well, the forthcoming election of Rishi Sunak as Prime Minister.
Well, first and foremost, let me give my congratulations to Rishi Sunak in becoming Prime Minister. It is a pretty significant moment in our shared political history to see a British agent become Prime Minister. I think that in itself is a good sign to see the breadth and depth of our culture across these islands, and to see that we need to see people across all backgrounds represented in public life, not least in politics. So from that standpoint, I welcome him. I hope that we have a positive relationship. He has a positive relationship with the devolved administrations, and I look forward to working with them when we can do so over issues such as Ukraine, of course, but obviously reaching out to him and saying that he needs to recognise that there is a democratic mandate in Scotland for the Scottish Parliament to move ahead with an independence referendum. So in a respectful way, I look forward to the relationship that we have. But I will also have to say to him that he is the third Tory Prime Minister in 3 months. I think the public are calling for a general election, and I think it's right that we move to that position and allow the people across all these islands to have their say in the future that they want to have, future say in the government of the United Kingdom, but of course in Scotland being able to demonstrate quite fully that we deserve that right to have our independence referendum.
So when Nicola Sturgeon became First Minister without a vote back in 2014, I mean, you took that straight to the Scottish electorate.
Well, we did have a Scottish parliamentary election. We've had several since then, of course, Neil, and the First Minister has been returned at every time. I think there is a world of difference in someone that has a mandate. And, of course, under our system, it's quite right that you do have, under certain circumstances, change of leadership, but not what we've faced over the course of the recent past, the turmoil, the crashing of the financial markets. And I think a Conservative government that has fallen massively out of favour with the electorate, it's under those circumstances that the right thing to do morally. And, of course, there are Conservative MPs that are also calling for that election. And of course, I know the issue here is how do we get that? But there is within the gift of the leader of the opposition, Keir Starmer, that ability to lay a vote of no confidence. And I think it's right that all of us take our responsibilities, that we say to Conservative MPs that they've lost that moral authority to lead, they've lost that authority to govern, and we should test the will of the House of Commons to see if people are prepared to stand up and do the right thing. But as my old colleague Oliver Brown once said, that a shiver ran along the front bench of the Labour front bench to see if there was a spine that it could crawl up. So we really need some backbone from the Labour Party to accept responsibility in forcing that vote of no confidence.
It's a good line, I will grant you that, Mr. Blackford, but at the same time, is now the right moment for either a vote of no confidence or for a snap general election to be called? I mean, if you were to get your wish, we would be talking about the best part of 2 months of chaos again, wouldn't we, of a general election campaign. Surely what the country wants right now, and at least for now, you may well choose to change your minds come the new year when we see what Rishi Sunak does, but surely they at least deserve the opportunity to have a go at it, to try and steady the ship. I mean, we've already seen the markets calm it.
Well, of course, what we've seen is people paying the price for the mistakes of the Conservative government, the massive increase that we've had in mortgage rates, and that remains the case, Neil, that people are going to be paying a price for this, and I think it's right that the Conservatives are judged by that. But what I really fear this morning, that when we should be looking at how, yes, of course, we need to see stability in the financial markets, but we should, for example, be looking at a windfall tax and those that have benefited from the cost of energy crisis that we have. But my real fear is that we're going to see austerity 2.0, and that can't be allowed to happen. So there are real differences, real divides that we have, but we certainly can't be in the situation that the poor and the most vulnerable are having to pick up the tab for the failure of Tory economic management.
So what then? Given that he isn't calling an election today and given that he will be moving forward, we presume, at least for the time being, with that statement on the 31st, and what do you want to hear from Rishi Sunak and the Chancellor to try and sort out the economy?
Well, I mean, I've given that example. We could be looking at a windfall tax, but we certainly should not be looking to cuts to public services. But look, let's get that financial statement on Monday. The Labour Party should bring forward that vote of no confidence, and let's test the House of Commons as to whether or not we're prepared to respect what the public wants, and that's a general election.
And just a final thought, Mr. Blackford, on Liz Truss. Of course, we're expecting her to pop out of Downing Street around about 10:15, having held that final cabinet, and make her final statement as Prime Minister. Is there, just in personal terms, is there part of you that feels some degree of sympathy for her?
look, it's been a tragedy for Liz Truss, but I mean, I will reflect on the damage that she has caused. The fact that mortgage holders, as an example, are going to have to pay a price. But nobody wants to see somebody humiliated. And I suspect, as the First Minister said, that Liz Truss is going to be a footnote in history. But of course, I wish her and her family all the best at the end of this period.
Ian Blackford, always good to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.